You ever stop and wonder why your iPhone still hits your wallet for $1,200, but a giant 65-inch 4K TV at Walmart feels cheaper than a weekend DoorDash habit? Yeah, that's not magic. That's China. For the last 2 decades, China got so insanely good at manufacturing everything, phones, power banks, electric cars, solar panels, that they basically speed ran capitalism on easy mode. They pushed prices down so far, so fast, that nobody else could keep up. But here's the twist nobody tells you. They pushed it too far. And now, their entire economy is stuck in a downward spiral that looks like a Black Friday sale nobody wanted. While you're watching those slow-mo shots of Teslas stacking up at Chinese ports and solar panel prices dropping like 85% in 4 years, just know this isn't a flex. It's a warning sign. Because when the factory of the world starts breaking itself to stay the cheapest kid on the block, the shockwaves don't stop at their border. They hit us next. The greatest come up in history. Picture this for a second. It's 1978. China is dirt poor. Most people are farmers, and the country looks nothing like the superpower you know today. Then one guy, Deng Xiaoping, basically walks up to the national economy, slaps the table and goes, "All right, pause the ideology. Let's actually make some money." That one move didn't just nudge China in a new direction, it rerouted the entire planet. Almost overnight, the government opened the doors to foreign companies, relaxed rules, and told the world, if you want cheap labor, zero red tape, and a place where factories can run 24/7 with no complaints, we got you. And companies in the West didn't just agree, they swarmed. Apple, Nike, Walmart, Amazon, basically every brand sitting in your apartment right now, looked at their spreadsheets and said, yeah, let's send everything over there. Because why pay American wages when China would give you a whole workforce for the price of a Spotify premium subscription? Meanwhile, inside China, the transformation was insane. Fishing villages that used to look like the background of a National Geographic documentary turned into futuristic megacities in a single generation. Shenzhen is the best example. It went from a tiny town of 30,000 people to 20 million. To put that into perspective, imagine waking up tomorrow and someone tells you, Boise, Idaho suddenly became a hybrid of New York and Los Angeles, with the tech of Silicon Valley and the skyline of Dubai within 25 years. That's the level of speed we're talking about. Millions of workers poured into factories, highways, ports, power plants. They were building infrastructure faster than the US could file the paperwork to start building a sidewalk. And for a while, it looked like the perfect deal. Western companies got their low costs, China got their economic rocket ship, and the global consumer got $9 t-shirts and cheap electronics. But the problem with going from 0 to 100 that fast? Nobody stops to ask what happens when the engine overheats, the race to the bottom. Here's where the story stops being impressive and starts getting kinda bleak. Once China became the world's go-to factory, every province wanted a bigger slice of the pie. But instead of competing with better quality or better technology, they did what companies do during a panic sale. They slashed prices, then slashed them again, then kept slashing until it looked like a clearance rack after a Black Friday brawl. Land costs? Cheaper. Wages? Cheaper. Taxes? Basically optional. Environmental rules? Practically a suggestion. It turned into an economic version of the Hunger Games, except everyone's weapon was offering the lowest possible price. Provinces weren't trying to beat foreign competitors anymore. They were undercutting each other. Factories started operating on profit margins so thin they made gas station pizza look luxurious. Companies weren't making money. They were just trying to avoid being the first one to shut off the lights. Think about it like this. Imagine every Uber driver in your city begins lowering their fares to win riders. until the point where they're practically paying you to get in the car. And they're still bragging about how business is booming. That's the level of delusion we're talking about. Chinese economists even came up with a term for this whole mess: involution. Sounds fancy, but the meaning is brutally simple. Everyone works harder, everyone hustles more, everyone grinds themselves into dust. And the end result is nothing. No progress, no stability, just a giant hamster wheel powered by stress, overproduction, and tanking prices. Look at the charts for steel, coal, solar panels. Everything's falling like a meme stock crash. Meanwhile, the "this is fine" dog might as well be China's unofficial economic mascot right now. And the worst part? Nobody knows how to hit the brakes. 2025, real-world examples that hit home. All right, so everything up to this point might sound a little abstract. Charts dropping, provinces competing, prices sinking like a Netflix stock dip after a bad earnings call. But here's the part that hits real life in 2025, because this isn't theory. This isn't some economic forecast for 2030. This is happening right now, like today, while you're watching this. Let's start with the big one: solar panels. The industry. China basically speed ran on God mode. China makes about 80% of every solar panel on Earth. That alone should make you raise an eyebrow. But what really breaks the brain is how much they're producing. In 2024, Chinese factories pumped out enough solar panels to literally power the entire planet twice over. Not metaphorically, not if you round up the numbers, like actually twice. And because the factories won't stop, the price has tanked harder than a meme coin rug pull. In 2020, solar was around 30 cents per watt. Today, 12 cents. 12. That's insane for the global economy, because if you're an American or European solar manufacturer, you cannot compete with that. Your cost of materials alone is higher than China's selling price. It's like trying to run a food truck when the guy across the street is giving away tacos for free because his uncle owns the tortilla factory and the government pays his gas. So what happened? Bankruptcies. A wave of them. Companies in the US, Germany, Spain, once proud renewable energy builders, are shutting their doors. The lights go off, the warehouses empty out, and the only thing left is a "for lease" sign and a LinkedIn feed full of people posting, "After 5 great years, I'm open to new opportunities." This isn't competition. This is a global wipeout. Electric vehicles, the part where China makes Tesla sweat. Now let's talk EVs, because this one feels personal to a lot of people. Right now, BYD, the biggest EV maker in China, is selling electric cars cheaper than a used Honda Civic. I'm not exaggerating. A brand new BYD compact EV in China can cost less than a 5-year-old Civic with a cracked windshield and a vape smell baked into the seats. But here's the plot twist. They've overproduced so much that you can find drone shots, real footage, not CGI, of parking lots holding 100,000 brand new EVs just sitting there. Not damaged, not defective, just waiting. Waiting for buyers who aren't coming, or for ships they can't afford to load, or for markets they can't legally enter because every Western government is scrambling to throw up tariffs like they're building a castle wall. And remember, Tesla's biggest, most efficient factory on planet Earth is in Shanghai. It's an incredible operation, one of Elon's best moves. But even Tesla is getting squeezed on China's home turf, because the moment BYD and other Chinese brands undercut prices, Tesla can't just keep discounting forever. You can only slash the price of a Model 3 so many times before the math starts screaming. It's the same oversupply problem as solar, but with wheels and battery packs. Batteries, the part where the whole world gets hooked on China's supply. Now, let's hit batteries, because this one affects everything. Phones, EVs, laptops, power tools, solar storage. Basically your whole life if you're even slightly plugged in. Two companies, KTL and BYD, control over 60% of the global battery market. That's not dominant, that's final boss level. And their strategy is simple: sell batteries at a loss, make up the difference with endless government-backed loans. Repeat forever. It's like if Amazon decided every single day would be Prime Day. TVs at 70% off, laptops half price, drones for the cost of a Chipotle bowl, and Amazon just shrugged and said, "Yeah, we don't need profit. Daddy Bezos will handle the bill." That's basically how China's battery giants operate. They're not playing by the usual rules because they don't have to. There's always another credit line, another subsidy, another province willing to burn money just to keep factories spinning. And that's why Western battery companies can't keep up. Their competitors aren't trying to win, they're trying to outsurvive everyone through sheer volume. Why this matters? All these examples, solar, EVs, batteries, they're not separate stories. They're symptoms of the same machine China built: overproduce, undercut, overproduce more, repeat until the global market breaks. For China, this model worked for decades. But now, even they're drowning in the consequences. Factories can't slow down, companies can't raise prices, and the entire system depends on selling more than the world could possibly buy. And the fallout isn't stopping at their borders. Because when the world's factory starts to crack, the shockwaves hit all of us next. The American angle, why you should actually care. Let's bring this home for a second, because everything we've talked about isn't just some faraway China problem. It's shaping your job market, your paycheck, your future, whether you follow global economics or not. Here's the blunt truth: America is already paying the price. Right now, your tax dollars are bailing out companies like First Solar and propping up US battery plants because they literally cannot survive without government support. Not because they're bad at what they do, not because they're lazy, but because they're trying to compete with an economic machine that's playing on an entirely different difficulty setting. And if this sounds familiar, it should. We've lived this movie before. In the 1980s, cheap imported steel-gutted Pittsburgh, Detroit, Cleveland, entire communities that once powered America's industrial backbone. Huge factories that employed tens of thousands were reduced to empty shells with broken windows and weeds growing through the cracks. Then the 1990s rolled in, and the same thing happened to America's textile industry. Small towns across the South, places that once thrived on mills and manufacturing, watched their jobs disappear overseas. It wasn't subtle, it wasn't slow. It was like someone shut off the switch. Fast forward to now, and the industries getting punched in the face aren't old-school factories. They're the sectors we've been told are the future: green tech, semiconductors, drones, EVs, batteries. Exactly the stuff America keeps saying it needs to dominate to stay competitive in the next century. Cheap Chinese goods did keep inflation low for about 20 years, which is why everything from microwaves to Christmas lights felt almost too cheap at Walmart. But the trade-off was harsh. We hollowed out the Rust Belt, trained fewer engineers and machinists, and basically told a whole generation, don't go into manufacturing, that industry's dead. Now we're trying to rebuild those skills in a world where the competition is selling things below cost like it's a hobby. And here's the part that feels almost ironic. China knows this model doesn't work anymore. They know they can't forever pump out endless factories and rely on exports like they're printing cheat codes. That's why Xi keeps talking about high-quality growth, innovation, and domestic consumption. On paper, China wants to shift from being the world's workshop to becoming a high-tech, high-income economy like Japan or South Korea. But here's the catch. Local governments in China don't care about lofty speeches. They care about one thing: GDP numbers, because higher GDP means promotions. And how do you boost GDP quickly? You build more factories, even if they're redundant, even if there's no demand, even if another province already made 5 factories just like it. It's like watching someone swear they're done drinking for good, while they're literally ordering another round at the bar. There's what they say, and then there's what they do. And what they're doing is doubling down on the same system that's cracking, which means the fallout won't just stay in China. It's going to spill over here into American jobs, American companies, and American industries we're trying desperately to rebuild. And that's why you should care. Because whether you fight it, ignore it, or pretend it's not happening, this wave is coming. The only question is how hard it's going to hit. All right, let's get something straight, because a lot of people completely misunderstand what's going on here. China isn't accidentally tripping into this mess, and they're definitely not confused about why prices are collapsing. This whole everything is crazy cheap thing? Yeah, that's on purpose. It's the strategy. Think of it like this. Imagine one guy at the gym pays the owner so he can lift weights for free, and everyone else has to pay full price. So of course, he shows up every day, hogs the equipment, and eventually everyone else cancels their membership because they can't keep up. That's basically what Beijing is doing, but on a global scale. They flood the world with so much cheap product, solar panels, batteries, EVs, that every other company starts losing money just trying to stay alive. American companies, European companies, even other Asian manufacturers, they're all burning cash while China is being backed by state loans that never really run out. And once the competition is wiped out or too weak to matter, that's when things get interesting. Because once they control 70, 80, 90% of a supply chain, they don't need to keep the prices low anymore. And when they flip that switch, everyone else has no choice but to pay whatever China decides things cost. And if that sounds dramatic, remember, they've already done it. Back in 2010, they controlled the rare earth metals that go into everything from iPhones to fighter jets. One day, they just cut exports, and prices shot up 10 times almost instantly. Companies freaked out, governments freaked out, because suddenly the entire tech world was bottlenecked in one place. And we're watching the early version of that same playbook right now with lithium processing, shipbuilding, solar, EV materials, all the industries that basically run the modern economy. These aren't random sectors, they're pressure points. If you control the pressure points, you control everything connected to them. This isn't military aggression. It's not even traditional trade war. It's the slow, methodical kind of economic warfare, where you don't need missiles or soldiers, you just need everyone else to depend on you. And the wild part is, by the time people realize what's happening, the trap is already closed. So here's the real question, the one nobody wants to say out loud. How long can any system, whether it's capitalist, communist, or whatever hybrid we're running now, keep chasing bigger, faster, cheaper before it eventually collapses under its own weight? History's pretty blunt about this stuff. Every empire that mastered one thing too well eventually strangled itself with that same strength. The British rode coal and steel until the world moved on without them. Japan dominated cars and electronics in the 80s, but hit a wall so hard their economy basically took a 20-year nap. Even Rome, literal conquer-the-world Rome, fell apart because the cheap wheat that fed the empire came from everywhere except Rome. Now take all of that, and imagine doing it at double speed, with state backing, and the entire global market wired into the outcome. That's China right now. And the wild part? We're not just watching this happen. We're strapped into the same roller coaster, whether we like it or not. If this video gave you something to think about, hit that like button, drop your take in the comments. Is China gonna pull a miracle comeback? Or are we all just pretending everything's fine? And subscribe, because next week we're flipping the script, how the West is quietly fighting back. and why it might actually work. See you then. Peace.